In 2008, Jeffrey Epstein was convicted. The world knew his name. The charges were public. The controversy was everywhere. So here's the question that still shocks people today. Why did Bill Gates meet him after that conviction? Not before. After. When reports surfaced that Bill Gates had multiple meetings with Jeffrey Epstein in the years following Epstein's 2008 conviction, the internet exploded. Headlines spread fast. Conspiracy theories spread even faster. But what actually happened? Tonight, we break down the timeline, the facts, and the reason Gates himself later called those meetings a huge mistake. After stepping down from day-to-day leadership at Microsoft, Bill Gates focused heavily on global philanthropy through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, global health, vaccines, disease eradication, education reform. At the same time, Jeffrey Epstein was trying to rebuild his reputation. Despite his conviction, Epstein still maintained connections with powerful elites. He positioned himself as a financier interested in science, technology, and philanthropy, and he actively pursued meetings with influential people, including Bill Gates. Reports indicate that Gates met Epstein several times starting around 2011, 3 years after Epstein's conviction. Some of these meetings reportedly took place at Epstein's Manhattan townhouse. That detail alone raised eyebrows. Why would one of the richest and most powerful men in the world meet privately with a convicted offender? According to multiple interviews, Gates representatives have said the meetings were related to discussions about philanthropy and global health initiatives. Epstein had been attempting to insert himself into scientific and charitable circles. He often presented himself as someone who could connect wealthy donors to big global projects. But here's where the controversy deepens. Internal reports later suggested that some people within Gates' circle were uncomfortable with the meetings. There were concerns about Epstein's background, concerns about optics, concerns about reputation. And yet, the meetings happened. Years later, when asked about it publicly, Bill Gates admitted something important. He said meeting Epstein was a mistake. In his own words, it was a huge mistake. He acknowledged that Epstein's reputation was deeply problematic. He also stated that Epstein never did any philanthropic work for the Gates Foundation. No partnership, no funding, no joint initiatives, just meetings. But in the world of elite influence, sometimes meetings alone are enough to spark suspicion. Here's something many people overlook. Epstein was known for strategically surrounding himself with powerful individuals, not necessarily because they were involved in wrongdoing, but because association created legitimacy. If he could say he had meetings with billionaires, scientists, presidents, it elevated his status. Being seen with influential figures helped him rebuild credibility. And that may have been his real goal. But the public reaction was intense. Because timing matters. Meeting someone before their crimes are widely known is one thing. Meeting them after a conviction? That's different. It creates questions. Questions that fuel documentaries, viral posts, and endless speculation. Was Gates naive? Was he misled? Or was this simply a case of poor judgment and elite networking? There is no evidence linking Bill Gates to Epstein's criminal activities. No charges. No documented wrongdoing. But reputation in the age of the internet doesn't depend only on evidence. It depends on perception. Another layer of controversy emerged when it was reported that Gates and Epstein had discussed global health funding ideas. Some critics argued this showed Epstein was trying to insert himself into major philanthropic projects. Others believe Epstein exaggerated his influence in those discussions. What's clear is this. Epstein repeatedly attempted to connect himself to powerful institutions long after his conviction. And Gates, like several other influential figures, was part of that network of meetings. When Epstein was arrested again in 2019, everything changed. His past connections were re-examined. His guest list scrutinized. Flight logs analyzed. Every powerful name became a headline. Bill Gates' meetings resurfaced instantly. And once something trends online, it never fully disappears. So why did Bill Gates meet Epstein after his conviction? Based on public statements and reporting, because Epstein presented himself as someone with access to wealth and donors. Because Gates was deeply involved in philanthropy. And because in elite circles, introductions and meetings happen constantly, sometimes without full awareness of the long-term reputational cost. But Gates himself has made one thing clear. It was a mistake. The bigger lesson may not be about Bill Gates specifically. It may be about how power networks operate. how reputation can be used as currency, how association can be weaponized, and how even billionaires can miscalculate who they choose to meet. In the end, no evidence has shown criminal involvement by Gates. But the question lingers because Epstein's shadow touches everyone he ever met. And when one of the richest men in the world sits down with one of the most controversial figures in modern history, people will always ask why. And maybe that question is the real story.